I think we will begin. Welcome, everyone. This is the Motivator Show alongside Lady Chelsea. She'll be here in a few moments. It's the wonders of modern technology. But before we begin the show, let me give praise and enough respect to Ian King, who I always say it brought us from night to day. And here in London, it's a beautiful blue day. Praise be to Ian King. Thank you for your dedication to the cause. Yeah. I want to go on, of course, to mention the crucial people who've ensured that this platform is available here after more than 35 years. I want to give praise and rise up to Chipa Kumbabai, the founder and leader of Galaxy Radio, afiwi.net. I want to give praise and recognition to Elder Erekute. Elder Erekute, who I've not seen for a little while, but I know and I can sense his vibrations. I want to give praise and enough respect, of course, to Dr. Man Abu Ratata. Stay strong and you continue to take care of your wife. Yeah, that's a passion. Yeah, that is love. Yeah, that is love. I want to recognize, of course, that longest serving pilot on this station, GalaxyAfiwi.net. I want to recognize Nickel, the most royal. Yes, I love the name. I love saying that name. I know. Okay. But most importantly, I want to give recognition to an outstanding sister, an outstanding empress. I want to give recognition to Empress Shanice, the solution finder. And you will all know, where you have someone who's able to find solutions, that person isn't weighed down by worry and doubts or inconsideration. That person is someone who gets up and go, look for a solution, and always has a positive and affirmative outlook on life. Someone who seeks solutions where others say there are not, who seeks solutions when they're surrounded by doubt, someone who seeks solutions and excels and shows the light, shows the way forward. I want to give praise to Empress Shanice. Praise Jah. Rastafari to you. Praise Jah. I know we've just been joined by Lady Chelsea. She might want to say something in a moment, but I'll continue if I may. I want to just move on very quickly to a part of the show which I'm now sensed by the feedback that we're receiving is gradually seeping through to people's consciousness. I want to continue to give out those crucial health messages because we are all affected by health conditions, and if we don't take care of ourselves, those conditions will become, acute. But to avoid this, and to avoid a life which is weighed down by pills and have to take all sorts of drinks and so on, okay? Prevention is better than cure. So I simply ask you all to consider these simple facts. I ask you, please, to consider the amount of sugar that you are ingesting at the moment. Okay? Do you need those additional spoons of sugars in your teas and coffees? How many of these so-called soft drinks, fizzy drinks, do you consume? Or indeed, most crucially, do you give to your children? Because that's where the habit starts, in children. Yeah. Do they need it? Are they genuine, benign drinks? I ask you to consider how much sugar you're ingesting. And think about the consequences, potential consequences of excess sugar. And diabetes is a big disease in people of African heritage, both here in Britain, Europe, and most certainly the Caribbean, and of course the Americas. I know I reference him, but I keep referencing him, and I invite you, if you doubt my words, look to the speech given by Professor Hilary Beckles at the University of the West Indies, one of the best universities in the world, the top 1%. We identified an epidemic of diabetes in African peoples who live in the Caribbean. Okay? And most certainly in the Americas. And most certainly here in Britain, diabetes is above the national average among people of African heritage in our community. I ask you to consider the amount of sugar you are ingesting. Prevention is better than cure. I ask you to consider the amount of salt you're ingesting. Consider the impact of salt. Do we need to add additional salt to our food? You know, it become habitual, but certainly us from the Caribbean, it's habitual for us to add salt to our food. Unnecessary salt to our food. Excessive salt to our food, you know. Consider the implications. Hardened arteries, yeah, increase in blood pressure because it's so difficult to pump blood around our veins and arteries. I ask you to consider the amount of salt you're ingesting. Okay, think carefully, particularly salt that's hidden in those ready meals, you know. I ask you to consider the amount of salt that you're ingesting. And consider the long-term effects of the salt. I also ask you, please, to consider the amount of fat you're ingesting, either from meat products, you know, and I've said it many a time, you go to a shop and you buy this lovely piece of beef or lamb, and you see the brown or reddish meat, you know, you can see it in perfectly, looks good, then you see these white strips. That white strip is simply fat. And we end up paying the same price for the fat that we would for the meat. Well, that fat accumulates in our bodies when we ingest it. It accumulates particularly around our organs. Yeah. What does it do? It creates pressure. Yeah. It's clogging up our arteries, our veins. Yeah. It's additional weight, you know. We see men with these bulging bodies, you know, and women with these wonderful, oh gosh, did I say that? Those hips, you know, and thighs, you know. You see it in their faces, just like the men. In some women, it looks quite good, but the long-term health consequences are not so good. It is better to be slightly slimmer than you think you should be, than fatter than you ought to be. Believe me when I say that, believe me. Consider the amount of fat we are ingesting from meat products, from dairy products. I know I've been challenged so often on dairy products, but dairy is simply fat. Milk is simply bovine lactose. Cheese is just churned milk, you know, that's been hardened. That's all it is. Dairy products are just another form of cow's fat, bovine fat. I'm not saying you shouldn't eat or drink any of it. I suggest to you that you should have it in moderation, not every day. In moderation. I ask you, of course, please, to consider the amount of carbohydrates we're consuming. Carbohydrates, starch. Okay. Those, if you think about our diet, lots of rice, lots of starch, yeah, which we convert to sugars in our bodies, and therefore we accumulate it. Think about many of those root vegetables, yams in particular, I can point to. We eat that in large quantums. The carbohydrates we're ingesting through flour. I'm not saying you shouldn't consume it, but in moderation. Not every day, in moderation, moderate portions. You said, well, we'll have a nutritionist here on the show in a few weeks' time, and let the nutritionist take us through what are the ideal diets for us, particularly from us, from the Caribbean or from Africa, those of us of Asian ancestry. Yeah, we are particularly vulnerable to all sorts of malady, diabetes, hypertension, being overweight, obesity. Okay, these conditions are killing us slowly, and they lead to other diseases as well. I want to encourage you to eat far more fruits and vegetables. Vegetables, particularly those with green leaves. Eat more green leaf vegetables. Yeah? Eat far more fruits than we currently ingest. Okay? And keep those root vegetables, particularly those that are very, very starchy. Yeah, eat them, but in moderation. But those green vegetables are vital sources of nutrients for us. Vital sources of nutrients. More fruits if we can. And most certainly we must up the amount of water that we're ingesting. I have my bottle of water, a litre of water here. I try to consume, where I can, 2 to 3 litres of water per day. Speak to your own GP, your general practitioner, your doctor, your nutritionist. They're the professionals. They will give the advice you really need. I'm only providing the guidelines. You speak to whoever has access to your medical records, who is a specialist in nutrition. They're the person to speak to. They will most certainly encourage you, if you're not doing this, to exercise every day. And I used to say 5 minutes. I was corrected. It should ideally be a minimum of 15 minutes a day. And you should race your heart, get your heart racing. You should sweat it a little bit. Yeah. Because your body demands exercise. Yeah. Here, I demonstrate it through my weights. I do this every morning. Then I go running. Oh my dear, I tell you, I don't know if Lady Schultz could see me. I'm sure she'd admire my weights. There you go. Oh, she'd laugh at me. There we go. Vitally important, people. Vitally important. It may look amusing, but this is what your body demands. It demands to be worked. Okay, and work is not exercise. Work is work. Exercise, where you deliberately exercise your muscles in your bodies. Okay, vitally important, vital for your general health. Of course, I mustn't forget those other health messages, which include taking care of our mental health. If in doubt, please seek help. Speak to whoever you really trust, but most certainly go to your doctor, your GP. Okay, I beg you, please, because mental health in our community, again, is above the national average. We do not talk about this subject enough. We have run a series of shows on mental health in the past, but I want to encourage you, if in doubt, please seek help. Go to your general practitioner, go to your GP, okay? Speak to whoever you really trust about how you're feeling inside and what you're thinking about yourself. It is vitally important that we discuss this subject. I mean, you feel able to speak to somebody. I cannot emphasize this enough. I've come across far too many good people who've found themselves suffering with a mental, psychological malady and did not seek help, okay, and suffered in silence and fell into depression. And it's really important. It is really important, because only this week I had that experience yet again. I was reminded why that particular message, seeking help, if you're in doubt, feeling doubtful in your mind, is vital that you seek professional help. Do not suffer in silence. But equally, of course, our spiritual health is vitally important. I encourage you, wherever possible, to meditate. yeah, to seek to dispel all the worries you might have. I beseech you to be calm for a period and allow all the worries to wash away. Close your eyes and breathe steadily and allow your spirit to rise in you. And you're able to do this for 15, 20, 30 minutes per day. I'm assured, I can assure you, I guarantee you will feel much better because you raise your spiritual energy. Yeah. And you're ready, therefore, to face life with all its challenges. I want to give praise to, of course, Brother Kwame in Nottingham for reminding us that we must remember in this part of the show to mention both mental and spiritual health. And last but not least, I'm reminded of a previous show where I must mention you must also take care, listeners, and those who will listen to and view the recordings. Your sexual health is as important of all the other health messages that I've given today. If you've got a new partner, the responsible thing to do is for both of you to go to your doctor or go to your sexual health clinic and just have just like a annual scan, just to make sure that you're both are clear of an STI, a sexually transmitted infection. In our community, it's above the average again. Because we don't talk about it, we must talk about this subject. So if you meet a partner the very first time, and you want to go steady, before you have those physical contact, I urge you, check your sexual health status. If it's not a relationship, but you are becoming physical, I urge you, please, protection is better than the consequences. You say again, protection is better than the consequences. Men, protection is better than the consequences. Women, protection is better than the consequences. Okay? And of course, I say to you all, if we are to prevent all of these maladies continuing to affect our community, we must take action. Remember, this is the Motivator Show, where we translate our words into action. We are alongside Lady Chelsea. Lady Chelsea, hi, how are you, my dear?
Hi, good morning. I'm good.
Good morning. Keep talking. I'm going to get your volume up this time. Otherwise, someone's going to call up and say, we can't hear you very well. How are you, my dear?
I'm good.
Better. Yes.
Okay.
You sound very vital, if I may say so, Lady Chelsea. I can't see you, but I know you are.
All right. Well, it's good it's coming off like that.
Healthy, huh? There you go. I know you regularly take care of yourself. You deliberately make sure you're in tip-top condition. Yeah. Remember, it's very much, isn't it? A state of mind, huh? Very much a state of mind. Yeah. So I get you. I completely understand, Lady Chelsea. But it's good to hear your wonderful dulcet tones, huh? Okay.
Oh, thank you.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, Lady Chelsea. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. All righty. I think I believe I've given enough health messages out. Would you agree, Lady Chelsea, or have I missed out anything? I've mentioned now the sexual part of this, which is so important, so important. And you recall that show we had where the various sexually transmitted infections were described to us. Okay, so I'm very conscious that it is an area that we must continue to remind listeners. We must take care of our sexual health. Yeah, we must take care. Yeah, thank you. Now, so today's show will be an interesting show. It will be our ninth series with a particular focus on Nigeria, but the rest of the motherland of Africa. Okay, and we've got an interesting series of guests who will be in the show, and that will be at 8:45 when we'll start the interview. But before I go with that, Chelsea, what I want to do is just remind listeners of a few contributors and just note their contribution. I think you would agree with me, Lady Chelsea, that our guest of last week, Pi Ratio, was outstanding. Wasn't he outstanding?
Yeah, he was. That was a good show.
Really good show. And I know that a number of listeners have gone to the website, have signed up, okay? And of course, those those freebies he offered was very popular, I gather.
Mm-hmm.
But what he demonstrated that there are in our community math geniuses, natural teachers of math that enable the subject to become really interesting, okay, intellectually stimulating, even for those who felt that maths really didn't matter in their lives. But maths permeate our entire lives. Okay, so I want to give a good praise and uplift to Pi Ratio. Long may you continue your good works. Yeah, it was fantastic, wasn't it? Fantastic.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed that.
I also want to give recognition to Naima Ali, the campaigner on FGM, which I introduce as female circumcision. She corrected me, quite rightly so, and pointed out that it was actually female genital mutilation. Now, clearly in some of our communities, that practice still pertains. And what we've got to do is root it out. It most certainly is illegal here in Britain. But those communities that still practice this mutilation of women's genitals, I just cannot understand it. I don't understand it. Mutilating a woman's genitals is any way culturally sound. Lady Chelsea, can you imagine? God. Would you have your circumcised? Forgive me.
Don't ask me that. No, of course not. That's a silly question. Silly question.
Well, you know why I've got to ask the question? I'm discovering I encounter people every day who have a range of attitudes, okay? And unless you ask a question of them, you presume nothing.
I feel like...
Let me tell you why. Because I discovered someone this week who family practices in their home countries FGM. And
but I mean, when they're from their home countries, and I'm sure it tends to be from people who are like directly from there. I'm sure of the country, the cultures and stuff like that in the country, so I won't be specific, but I feel like people are more westernized, unless, very close, because I'm not sure why it happens. I just know I see stuff on Instagram and stuff with people doing causes and stuff against it and raising money and stuff over the last years. That's why I know about it. But I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyone could convince me to hurt my child.
Absolutely. I appreciate your strong response, So mothers and fathers, husband and wife, boyfriends and girlfriends, out there who are listening, please help us to stamp out FGM, the mutilation of women's genitals. We've got to stamp it out. I'm going to give praise and recognition to Naima Ali, the campaigner who came on the show and discussed this with us. And I also, of course, want to recognize other organizations who we're going to return to this subject in a few weeks' time, with a African-led women's organization based here in Britain who are campaigning against this and other health-related issues as they affect women of color, Black women, African women in this country. And maternity care is another area of concern that we need to focus on. But again, that's a future show. Of course, I want to give recognition to Sadiat Okentende, the first woman chair of Southwark Muslim Forum. Okay, she provided a truly inspirational show. She displayed the courage, the strength of what it is to be a real woman, in my view. You know, she was a mother, a determined mother, yeah, a determined wife, a determined member of the community, and proud to be a Muslim woman, outwardly, obviously, a Muslim woman, and the very first Muslim woman we've had in this program. And I want to have more Muslim women on our program. Okay, a fantastic woman, and that's someone we must continue to support. And hopefully, in the not too distant future, she will appear with another leader from the African Muslim community. I won't say any more about that for now, but watch this space. And lastly, I want to give praise to Elsie Owusu. You might recall Lady Chelsea. She was the one of the very first non-white women members of the Royal Institute of British Architects. She, of course, is an architect in her own right. She displayed during that show a series of diagrams, photos of her work, both here in London, England, and of course in her homeland of Ghana. Okay, she's an example of the very best of us, a highly talented woman, incredible strength, of incredible strength and character. Someone we must keep recognizing. People like this are not given publicity in the so-called national press. One of the reasons why this show, called Lady Chelsea, is on this station, galaxyafiwi.net, because this is the de-brainwashing program. It is our communication medium platform so that we can give light to the best members, the ordinary members of our community, and we'll give them the publicity that they're not gaining elsewhere. Okay, it is our duty to give light to our achievers in the community, and she most certainly is one of our achievers. She'll be back again. She's going through a challenge at the moment with a planning authority in Hastings. Okay, I won't say more about that, but when she's victorious, as she most certainly will be, or have her back, we'll talk about the planning system here in Britain, how it operates, and what we need to do to ensure that if we submit a planning application, how we can navigate the planning system. Really important aspect of our social economic life here in Britain. Okay. Wow, I think I've said enough. Is there anyone, Lady Chelsea, you want to give just reinforce a memory of a person we've had on the show?
Sayus from Mentivity.
Oh, Sayus, yes. Yeah, give a good shout out for him. Good. In fact, I received a quick message from him earlier this week, as it happens. We'll find out how that organisation has evolved. Yes, because he's not far from us. Good. That's a good one. That's a good shout out. Anyone else, Lady Chelsea? Got maybe.
The lady from Three Chefs.
Oh yes, Teresa. Oh, I've mentioned her name for a while. Yes, she is someone else we need to get back on, because I know that they've continued to develop their efforts in encouraging us to eat well. You know, that's what this was all about. So yes, we need to look out for her, and I will attempt to make contact with her during the forthcoming week. That's a good one. That's a good one. You know, she is someone we should not forget. Okay, Lady Chelsea, I'm going to hand over to you. Okay, although we can't see you, I might add, but well, don't worry. Okay, I hand over to you. I hand over to you now.
Yeah, hi guys. So this is the competition that we do every week, and for the prize of Yamalakai's book we brought on about a year ago to praise him about his book and remind us about homeschooling and what those challenges were and the positive things that came with it. He, at the age of 14, has written a book which is called Tutankhamun, The Tale of the Adventurous Boy King. It's also on Amazon to purchase, I believe. Last time I checked, it's like £15. I think it's a good read and something great for kids, which is why we're also giving it away as part of the prize. The part of the prize is £25. So as usual, there will be 2 questions, one for 11 to 16-year-olds and one for children under 10. So I'll read out the number first, just so everyone is more prepared than the questions, and you can call in at any point during the show. Okay, so number is 0208 133 5616. Okay. So first question, let's turn this up. First question we have is for under 10s, children under 10.
Question 1. How do you spell Tutankhamun?
So again, that's how do you spell Tutankhamun? And then for 11 to 16-year-olds.
Question 9. Who or what did the people of Kemet worship during the time of Tutankhamun?
So that's who or what did the people of Kemet worship at the time of Tutankhamun?
Okay, those are the questions, and I've got to say that if you are viewing the show via YouTube under the Motivator Show, and that's DE, the Motivator Show, okay, you should see on screen the telephone number, okay, and of course the telephone number to call, and just to re-emphasize, it's if you're in the UK, it's 0208 133 5616. If you're outside the UK, it's +44. If you take the 0 off, and it's 208, as it were. Okay. I'm told I should mention that this is a Skype number. So if you're on Skype, you can actually call free of charge wherever you are in the world. And if you look for my other name, which is Martin, MAR Seaton, and that's S for sugar, EATON, and you're able to find the Skype number. Okay. And then secondly, if you call, it's important if you're listening to the show via YouTube under the Motivator Show, or via Facebook, again under the Motivator Show. It's important if you're listening to turn down the volume on your screen, and indeed the same would apply if you're viewing this program via Mixcloud. You can find us also in Mixcloud. MIX Cloud. We are also transmitting live via Mixcloud. So we are truly multimedia, multi-platform here. So we're going out live via galaxyafiwi.net. We're going out live. We're also going out live via YouTube, Facebook, and Mixcloud. Okay, so we're able to optimize the listenership. So I'm really, really pleased how this has progressed over time. I wonder, Lady Chelsea, if these questions are challenging. What do you think, Lady Chelsea? Are these questions challenging?
Yeah. Not really, no.
I didn't think they were, but But I suppose being aware of the religious practices in Tutankhamun's time would require someone to have been set down, either read or been taught this directly. Okay, it's an indication, of course. Yeah, it's just an indication of the condition in our community. Okay, I know there are parents listening to us, and I know many are preparing their children to go to the various classes and so on. That's true. That's true. But the prize is £25 and a signed copy of young Malakai's book. I think for most young people, £25 is a reasonable sum to answer a question. What? £25, more often than not. But there you are. But one would hope that that is possible. So whilst the community are considering those questions and the responses to those questions, I'll give out the number again. The number to call, if you're in the UK, it's 0208 133 5616. And if you're overseas, you simply take it's +44, and you start with 208 135616. And if you are a Skype member, if you have a Skype account, it's a call is free of charge. Okay, so you're not charged at all. Okay, so we welcome your calls up until our guests arrive. And I think it's, if I may, whilst the guest hasn't arrived yet, I want to just say a few things. Maybe first of all, Lady Chelsea, how do you feel about climate change? Is it for you and your generation, do you believe, an important subject?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Why is it an important subject? Yeah.
It's to do with the world that we live in. So I don't know if we want it to not. I don't know how damage. I don't know how to articulate this. If we don't have things working and damaging it, then it's just like that's going to affect us, isn't it? So that's why it should be important.
Yeah, you're quite right. You're quite right. Yes, you're quite right. Because your generation isn't concerned about climate change and its implications for the world that you will inherit, gosh, then there is no hope, really, is there? There is no hope.
I mean, I don't like. I feel like the main problem is not like the average person. So I think that's maybe one reason why people are just like, all right, well, there's nothing I can really do about it because it's not us that's doing it. It's the billionaire companies and stuff that didn't like us having paper straws isn't going to stop all the oil and wastage they throw in places and mining they do and all of that. Like, cool, it could be helpful, but I don't think it's even on that scale. And then they manipulate us into thinking it's our fault. And then we turn off a light and it's like you've just put oil into the ocean. Like, it's just, I don't know, that's how I kind of like see it. And it's not that I won't do my bit, but I also feel like it's not that helpful because there's an imbalance of that stuff that the powerful people are doing. And I get there's a lot of people in the world, but a lot of us don't have control, and poverty brings us to, it's not, climate change can't be my major worry if I'm living in poverty.
Oh, really? That's interesting. So you don't feel empowered enough to take those steps to reduce your carbon footprint, for example?
Well, no, as I said, like I would, if there's things I can do, like turn off my electrical things I'm not using, or walk somewhere and recycle, fine, I'll do it because I care. But like, what else? Because people have been doing that and have been saying, well, the world's still getting worse. So I really don't feel like it's the companies that should be that, but politicians and stuff aren't going to say anything to the billionaire companies. And they're not saying it because they don't care.
Interesting. You talk about politicians.
Well, it's there who's supposed to be making choices and giving them tax evasions and stuff like that, from what I understand. So they never do anything for us.
I think you
actually have power.
Yep.
Anyway.
I think, first of all, I think it's really important, I think, to people that you have power. You have power. Yeah. And I emphasize that because you are, from a politician's point of view, we serve you. So,
well, I feel like there's a stage where that is lost after a point in a lot of their careers, and even the ones that help, they're stopped by politicians who are quote unquote bad. So I don't really.
I hear you.
That's how I feel.
No, it's
negative, sorry.
Yes, and it's good to hear. I know listeners are hearing us for the very first time, hearing Lady Chelsea and I debate on politics and, of course, most crucially, the environment, how to ensure the world that we eventually leave for you, Lady Chelsea, is one that is sustainable. Okay, and you're feeling that the way the economics and indeed the world is organised, it disempowers people to make the difference. Okay, which is, of course, the reason why this show is here, to show and demonstrate that we can make a difference. Okay, and we've had many examples of members of our community making the difference. Okay, and it's hoped that today's guest will also demonstrate that ordinary people can make a difference. And in fact, it requires ordinary people to drive change. Okay, and politicians, and I'll put my hands up, yes, I'm a politician, okay, to drive those changes towards a better world. Okay, now it's really important. Okay? It's really important to hear the voices of those who feel that they don't have the power to affect change. But I hazard a guess to you. If you decide no longer to use plastic bags for shopping and only use those cotton bags, durable bags, okay, henceforth, okay, you, by that very action, are driving change. If you decide, okay, not to get on the bus, but that is burning diesel, but to buy a bike and use your bike to your office, you are again driving change by your actions. Do you see? If you decide, when presented in the supermarket with a free-range egg or battery hatched egg, okay, you are driving change. You choose to have concern about the health and well-being of the chicken that is producing the egg, and allowing it to be able to have space so it can walk around and pick up its food freely without being in an enclosed artificial environment. You're making a conscious decision to improve the health and well-being of that chicken. And I can give you many examples where your actions drive change. Does that make sense to you?
Well, yeah, that's basically what I said. I just don't think that that's enough, because they're still allowing businesses to sell the other chickens, and people have the choice to do that. And the majority of people don't, especially if it's cheaper. So it doesn't really solve the problem. So
what did we, as part of this campaign, in raising the consciousness of the public, okay, point out the consequences of us proceeding as we were before? Okay, you're aware that yesterday we had two very unusual storms here in Britain. Okay. And the weathercasters are telling us the stimulus behind it is indeed climate change. Okay. That is a stimulus behind it. Okay. And what the weather forecasters are telling us is that in order to prevent climate change having catastrophic impacts on the planet, on future society you inherit, okay, we've got to make conscious changes to our lifestyles. Now, I've got to say that, Lady Chelsea, I've observed tens of thousands of people making changes to their lifestyles. Tens of thousands of people making changes to their lifestyles. Here in London, here in England, as you know, we've got local elections coming up. And I can tell you, my local party, okay, I've spent not tens of hours, hundreds of hours examining ways in which we can develop a manifesto that helps us to drive a sustainable local economy. Yeah. So we're building. We want to. We of course want to plant more trees. We want to encourage residents to walk or ride bikes into office. Yeah. We're encouraging wherever possible local greening or food growing projects. You know, we're sourcing energies from sustainable sources. No wind, wave, or solar. We're encouraging people, where possible, put solar panels on their roofs. Okay. What more do you think a local authority could do to help us all, the country, to build a sustainable society? Give us maybe one or two examples.
Me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
You say that we're not doing enough. Give us a few ideas. Give us a few
I
ideas.
didn't say we're not doing enough.
Okay.
I said I like that we're doing it. That's fine. I'm agreeing with all of that. I believe that everybody should be doing their bit and doing that. I was so nerdy at school. I was part of the allotment club. I understand. Like when I was in primary school, I was very on my mum, turn the lights off, shut the fridge, do all that. That's fine. But when it comes to it, I don't think that I'm not saying for everyone not to do that. Everyone should do their bit. But I think we also need to focus on the fact that the companies are actually doing the most damage on what are their repercussions. Because it's not like we can't counteract what they're doing. Companies that are dumping things in India and killing people because they're toxic and stuff like that, they're just dumping it anywhere. The waste they just dump, the recycling that doesn't actually get recycled. Like all this, like that's not, what can I do about that? I can turn off all the lights. What am I doing about that? But I'm not saying not for everyone to give up and not do their bit. I think it's important that you, for your own sake, and okay, I'm doing my bit. But I don't think there's enough focus on the actual problem.
I love it.
I'm not an expert in this. I'm just saying because I barely know anything. I'm just saying what I think.
Absolutely. That's what I wanted to hear. That passion. I wanted to hear your passion. You're angry that those companies are still getting away with it and without penalty, and they're still giving their shareholders those big annuities. You know, I agree with you. Yeah. You know what? There's another young man, I hope has joined us, okay, who shares your passion. Aziz, can you hear?
I'm a young man. I'm a young woman.
Aziz, can you hear us? Is our guest today able to hear us?
Yes.
You can hear us, all right? Oh, put your volume back on. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning to you too.
So you know me. I want to introduce to you Lady Chelsea, my co-host. You just heard speak passionately on this subject. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Aziz.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, okay. And how are you this morning, Aziz? How are you?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm very well indeed. I'm very well indeed. And I'm going to ask you in a moment just to say a little bit about yourself before I go into the main interview. But before I do that, and some people most probably can see those who are viewing the program via YouTube, Facebook, or Mixcloud under the Motivator Show will see that I deliberately have got in my background a number of your interesting sayings, okay? And I want to quote them before you begin, but I want to set the scene for this show. One of your sayings is this: lose your fear of failure and learn to fail forward. People who never fail never try. You've got to get it wrong to get it right. Oh, I love that. That's the mindset. Okay. And with another one of your quotations, if I may say so, another one of yours. Keep showing up. If no one invests in you, invest in yourself. That's a powerful mindset. And I want to quote one more of your sayings, and I'm saying this is one of your sayings, but I want to quote it. I want to set the scene for your arrival here. I'm going to try and move out the way so those who are watching can see it, okay? You are responsible. Here we go, get it right, here we go. You are responsible. If you do not push yourself, if you do not push yourself, then no one will push you. Yeah? If you do not push yourself, no one will push you. Now, prior to you coming on and I preparing the way, it was these sayings that you put up on Facebook that I found most striking for a young man such as yourself. Well, I said, yeah, this is someone we need to speak to. Okay, I know that Lady Chelsea, she would find this very, very interesting with someone with this mindset. You know, because you said Lady Chelsea speak with such passion. Oh yeah, you and Lady Chelsea are people of equal passion. Okay, so I want to introduce everyone. Aziz Abu Bakr. Okay, someone who we met at the COP 22 conference in Glasgow very recently. Okay, someone who is a passionate environmentalist, a passionate sustainable economy specialist, someone who is passionate about developing sustainable projects. That Africa should be leading the way, not following. Should be leading the way on environmental issues. Aziz Abu Bakr, good morning to you. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you too. Thank you so much for having me on this platform.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself. Just tell us a little bit about it, just so the listeners can appreciate who you are. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. So my name is Aziz Abu Bakr, and I'm a 23-year-old professional passionate about sustainable development, innovation, and technology. I currently live in Nigeria, and last year I had the opportunity to attend COP26 in Glasgow and also pre-COP in Italy ahead of COP26. And it was a very good opportunity for me to contribute to policy changes and to ensure that we hold leaders, world leaders, to account on critical issues affecting our continent, Africa. So I was born in Nigeria. I lived most of my life in Nigeria, obviously, and I've gotten to see the realities of climate change in Nigeria and even across other African countries. It's a thing of survival for us here in Africa, because every day people are dying in relation to climate change. And, it's further pushing more people into extreme poverty and not allowing them to, break that poverty cycle easily, due to other, extreme events like, droughts, not allowing them to secure food for themselves, and a lot of other issues like flooding, destroying their homes. And, these people have suffered a lot of loss and damage that needs to be addressed, and we need to hold world leaders of developed countries accountable, and, make sure that they contribute their fair share to ensure that, we have a sustainable world for everyone to live everywhere.
Thank you. I think we've been joined by, is this your colleague, Alasupo?
Yes, good morning.
Yes.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. And can you maybe just explain the relationship in terms of the organization you belong to?
Thank you very much. Good morning. I belong to the same organization like Toby Abubakar, and our organization works at the intersection of advocating for climate change issues and advocacy, giving voice to the voiceless, those who ordinarily would not be represented at COP26. We also do this by using art and technology to really pass our message of advocacy and put spotlight on those who have been grossly affected about the issues of climate change. We do this again through organizing competition, raising awareness, distributing different materials to really mitigate the effect of climate change. And we are also trying to localize the campaign as well, try to put all our advocacy messages in local language that will give them an opportunity to know much about the kind of advocacy we are doing. We have been in this journey for the last 4 years, and we have opportunity to have reached out to more than 500,000 Nigerians directly. And we also have a radio program that we do called Climate Weekly, wherein we sensitize the general public who are not on the internet, who don't have access to internet, and who only listen to radio in grassroots community. So part of our plan this year is to, increase our awareness, increase the radio jingles, mobilize support in terms of advocacy, and work with the government to incorporate climate education into the teaching curriculum of secondary school in Nigeria. And of course, we are super proud of Toby Abubakar.
Okay, you're giving them too much away too soon. It's okay. That's brilliant. I want to ask a few questions, okay? I'm going to be really naughty with my first question. There are many Nigerians here in Britain and who are content here in Britain. And for the most part, many of them will stay in Britain. Now, you're both two quite educated Nigerians. Why don't you just simply do your work here in Britain and forget about Nigeria? Why do it in Nigeria? Why do it in Africa? Why do that work in Africa? Why Africa and not here in Britain? Who wishes to respond?
All right, thank you for asking that question.
Aziz, take Aziz first, and I come to you, Alasupo.
Okay, all right. Okay, so for me, Africa is my home, is my home continent. It's really where I was born. I lived in Africa, and I kind of like owe it to my community, to my local community, to give back to my local community. They're giving so much to me to reach this point, to get to this point of my life. And I would always remember every time that this is where I was born, this is where I live, this is where I met my friends, family, and everyone. And I would always want to do everything I can to contribute and give back to my community and pay it forward by, developing initiatives to help my community grow. And, such initiatives are, the climate education initiative that we're working on at Brain Builders Youth Development Initiative, and quite a number of other initiatives that Mr. Abidin knows more about. So over to you, Mr. Abidin.
Thank you very much for that. And I sincerely appreciate that question. Why Nigeria? Why Africa. Africa is grossly affected. If we look at the poverty ratios across different developed and developing countries, the data available with us is really telling us that Africa needs all necessary help that it could get. I am an African, I am a Nigerian. So the onus lies on me to really make impact in my local community. That impact, that knowledge I've garnered over different continents, traveling, attending different symposium and conference should be domesticated, should be localized, because millions and billions of Africans will not have the privilege to speak with you the way I am speaking with you. So the onus lies on me to give a voice to them, represent the underrepresented, localize that message, and of course, anchor on the principle of collating some of the data of how they have been affected to mobilize necessary resources for the development of that region. Of course, Britain, great country, great continent, affecting and making positive impact amongst countries in African continent as well. What I think, of course, we are going to do collaboratively with Britain, that you have even started, which really makes us our board of directors happy when Toby Abubakar shared this information with us, was that we are happy to see that from other countries as well, they are interested in Nigeria, they're interested in Africa, and they're interested in supporting young activists who are doing stuff related to climate change. So Africa is mine. I am bred here. So the onus lie on me to give back to the society that produced me. And that's the reason why we have been committed to this. Even as a teenager, we have started playing our own role across different issues around sustainable development.
Brilliant. And would you encourage Nigerians who are living here, and many of them feeling quite content and so on, would you encourage them to return to Nigeria and give back to Nigeria? What? Can you hear us? Can you hear me? Oh, can't hear me. Hello?
Hello, yes, I can hear you. Encouragement to give back to Nigeria. I know they have got every reason to say,
to return to Nigeria and make that contribution to rebuild, to build up the country.
Thank you very much. Britain is not what it is today if the citizens of the country have not teamed up together to really work on the development. America is not American today if the core Americans emigrated from their country to live in another continent. I quite agree with them that, the situation of things in Nigeria is poor, the poverty rate is high, the level of unemployment is high, the issues around corruption is also high, there is insecurity. We've got every reason not to, make impacts. But the question I'm going to ask them and I'm going to pose to them is, if we leave this into the hand of those who do not really have the competence, capacity, and character, the younger generations that we have just born now will live to point an accusing finger on us and say, Daddy, brother, uncle, auntie, while you were there, what did you contribute? How were you able to make your own mark? What exactly do you want to be remembered for in Nigeria? Do you want your name or the name of your family to remain ever indelible in the reminiscences of people? And that's the reason why, as Nigerian, we have nowhere to call our home. Even if we go to Britain to work or to make meaningful contribution to the economy, Nigeria is still ours. So we need to team up together to really correct the wounds, to correct the challenges. And the only way through which you can do that is to come back home or support initiative that will really place Nigeria in the global map and retell the stories. Of course, our leaders have really jeopardized a whole lot of things, but we as young Africans are committed to retelling that story. And that's the reason why young people with competence, capacity, and character are teaming up collaboratively together. What we are doing in our organization is to activate what we call collaboration, not competition. You from Australia, you from Britain, you from the US, and we in Nigeria can team up together to address some of these issues that we have itemized. And we are not just addressing issues or jumping on issues. This is something that we have noticed from the data and survey and research we have carried out, that for us to mitigate issues around climate change, radio could be used as a tool, advocacy should be localized, people should be encouraged to speak up. There should be policy framework. And I'm happy to tell you that due to our activity and that of Toby Abubakar as well, the Nigerian government has passed the climate change bill now. So what we at the stage that we are now is to work with different state governments as well to localize it into their budgetary provision, so that when we get to COP27 in Egypt again this year, we won't still be telling the story we are telling at Glasgow last year.
Thank you. You may have anticipated a question we're about to ask of you. I was going to hand over to Lady Chelsea, but anyway, go on, Lady Chelsea. Anyway, you may want to elaborate on that question.
Yeah, okay, I suppose both of you can answer if you want. I just want to know what kind of support you are receiving from government or governments.
Yes. I'm not sure if you
get that question well.
Yes.
What support are you receiving from governments?
Yes, currently at the moment, what we are trying to do is any attempt to ask government for money in Nigeria or for funding or for anything, we receive a deadlock end. So what we are trying to do is to do capacity even for the government, because, you know, the government's parastatal as well are not well equipped to advocate for the necessary change that we need. Our organization is developing capacity of civil servants while we are working with them to formulate policy like the one I just told you about now. The climate change bill that has been in existence for the last 6-7 years in Nigeria has just been assented to by Mr. President late last year. So we are trying to integrate policy framework, strategic framework of issues around climate change for it to have a budgetary backup. So that's exactly what we are working on. We are also trying to equip and train government parastatals on issues around climate change, climate advocacy, and of course, hold them accountable for the promises they have been making at COPs. So that's correct. That's the current things we are doing with government, and of course, we've got the support. I'm happy to tell you that I attended Glasgow COP26 because the government gave me a special accreditation tag as well. And of course, Toby Abubakar was also in Glasgow. So I don't know if you have anything to add to it, Toby.
Aziz, did he hear you? Aziz?
Yes, I can actually. Yes, Mr. Abidin already shared our engagements with the government and how we're working with the ministry, the federal ministry, and the Department of Climate Change to form policies like the climate change bill that I spoke about. And however, just like you said, capacity building is something that we need to conduct even at the local level and even at the federal level. You know, educating them about climate change and let them seeing the reasons why they need to support initiatives that has to do with climate change, education, and all of this. So so that's currently how our engagement with the government looks like. Sadly, when we engage them in terms of funding, it turns out like they're mostly to them they have other priorities, and sometimes you know, due to the pandemic like COVID-19, for instance, now a lot of funding that could have gone into supporting climate initiatives have now gone into COVID interventions. So, you know, we need to be able to channel more funding into climate for a sustainable world. We need to channel more funding into supporting climate change issues.
Interesting. When you say most of the funding has gone into COVID, just going back to, does that mean that governments have not set targets? For example, here in Britain, there's a target to prevent the sale of diesel or petrol cars, for example, by 2030. Is there a similar target by the Nigerian government to prevent the sale of petrol or diesel cars by 2030? Are you aware?
Not 2030 in Nigeria, but 2050. When our president came to Glasgow last year, he made a commitment because 2050 in Nigeria, 2050. That was a commitment of Mr. President, because, you know, what operates in Britain is not what operates in Nigeria. So we've got to plan according to the reality on ground here and be realistic with some of the plans that we are having. So our president has promised 2050, and what we are doing as an organization is to keep them to their promises. How do we, it's not just enough for you to throw out numbers or to throw out years. How do we maintain, you know, transparency and accountability? How can we create like what we call climate meter? That climate meter could be a tool through which we use to measure government promises. Like in the last 1 year, what have you been able to achieve? What are the core things you are able to achieve in 1 year? Through that climate meter, organization, non-governmental organization, international NGOs, and individuals are able to know the reality of Nigerian, how Nigerian has fared in the last 1 year based on available data. Of course, you know, it looks like a tall order to have a climate meter, but of course, with organizations like yours who have showed interest in what we are doing, we are optimistic we will be able to raise necessary resources to really get this done.
Okay. Thank you. That's an interesting response, and I struggled to find what the targets that the government were actually implementing locally, and that was one that I found curious. Of course, Nigeria is a major oil exporter, of course, so I know that's a challenge. If I may, I'm going to hand over to Lady Chelsea. You've got a question, Lady Chelsea?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if these climate change issues are mainly concerning people in villages or major cities.
So is it a rural issue or city, or is it mainly the city Nigerians?
Sincerely, it's majorly rural people. And the reason why we have taken it upon us is the rural people always get the attention of government only during electioneering campaign. The moment the government approached them during election time, they are forgotten about them. So that was why, if you notice while I was speaking, I said we want to give a voice to the voiceless. We are representing the underrepresented. Those who ordinarily will not have a seat at the table. Those who ordinarily will not be able to fund their trip to COP26 to talk about issues affecting them as indigenous people. Those are the category of people that high climate advocacy and education is targeted at. And that was why I also said the other time that we have localized it. Not everybody can speak English. We localize it into Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, so that we'll be able to communicate with them in the local language that they understand, and they are able to tell us what exactly is affecting them. Then we collate some of these things together and give a voice to it before the government and international non-governmental organization. I and Aziz were privileged to speak at different side events last year at COP26 in Glasgow. So, and what at the core of what we have been able to do was to get, reports from different communities and present it to key policy and action makers who can really take action on them. So, giving a voice to the voiceless, representing underrepresented, and of course, making indigenous people who are grossly affected by issues around climate change have a voice at the global continent. So we are acting local and going global.
Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. So it's interesting how you describe the distinction between the villagers or the voiceless, and only being noted during time of election, which is, wow, that presents challenges in itself. But I wonder, at a village level, their carbon footprint, I imagine their carbon footprint is quite small. Would I be right in saying that? And therefore, may not see may not fully appreciate the importance of developing a sort of sustainable economies. Would I be right in saying that carbon footprint is so low anyway that they may not see it as being significant? Or am I looking at this from a city perspective?
Toby, I give that to you to answer.
All right, thank you, Mr. Abedin. Can you all hear me clearly?
We can. Yes.
Okay, all right. So for villages, although their carbon footprint is low, they still depend on things like firewood to cook. And these are some of the things that we want to try to educate them about, the dangers of using firewood and just using trees to cook. For instance, they are able to use these solutions because they can't afford the alternative, or the alternatives are not even provided to them. And with initiatives like ours, we can be able to build their capacity and also be able to provide some of these sustainable options for cooking for them. So instead of them using firewood, what about them using a much less polluting or air polluting? Because when you look at the stats, people die in villages due to indoor air quality, and that's why firewood can be dangerous to them due to indoor air quality and all of that. So how can we provide alternatives to them, much more sustainable options of cooking, like for instance the solar heater or the solar cooker, that kind of solution? So how can we get funding internationally? How can we get resources internationally that may not be available in Nigeria to support these communities? So although even while they use firewood, their carbon footprint is still very low, comparatively low compared to it's an urban city with lots of cars and lots of different industries that are polluting. But nevertheless, the local community is very important. Like Mr. Abedin has said, their voices really matter. In fact, there are some locally led solutions that just need to be scaled, and it just needs support from international aid and international organizations, NGOs, to just scale that solution. And this could be the solution they need. So really, we need to be able to give the voice to the voiceless, to the local communities, and support them in achieving a sustainable world.
Thank you very much for that. That's a useful insight. Lady Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Question? Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to know if either of you had any noticeable contributions that women had made or are making to combat climate change. I don't know, your colleagues or people you know doing similar things as you do.
Mr. Abedin, would you like to go for that?
If I get the question very well, she's asking about the intervention of women and how they have been leading climate change. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, of course, definitely. I'm happy to share a link of one of the startups that we incubated that is majorly targeted at women. Because in Nigeria, we discover a whole lot of women are affected, especially by poor cooking fuel. So what we have started is to start a social enterprise as well to really address this so that the rate at which people die as a result of poor cooking fuel is reduced. And because let's be realistic, women make a lot of contributions into the family and into the house in Nigeria. So they are the one grossly affected. So if you want to tell a good story of it, what we are trying to do now is to amplify the voice of those local women. And what we have been doing is to bring them on radio to share some of the experiences of how they have been grossly affected, make them a climate justice ambassador. There's a program that is listed for later this year. We call it a climate justice ambassador program. So part of what we have planned for that program is to make sure spotlight women who are grossly affected by heat and how in their own local ways have really been addressing this solution. So I'm happy to make a Google search, send you the link of a startup we did recently to really address these issues of poor cooking fuel. I'll do that right away and put it on the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
And if I may, just to pursue the women's and girls' contribution to this, often in our press we are often seeing young women as the advocates on matters of sustainable economies and climate change. What about women politicians in Nigeria? That's one of the tasks I charged myself with prior to this show. I found it difficult to find women politicians advocating for climate change initiatives. Was it I was just a poor researcher on this occasion, or is it that
No, you're not a poor researcher. You are absolutely right. You are correct. But the question to ask is, how many women do we have occupying political posts in Nigeria? That's the question to ask. So that's about 3% at the National Assembly. That's about 1.1% at the level of the state executives and federal executives. So it's abysmally low. And as I speak with you currently, there is a bill before the National Assembly to create a quota system for women across different senatorial districts and House of Representatives. And as well, political party should make nomination form free for women and youth. Our organization is also at the core of that advocacy, as we are a greater support for what we call the Global Not Too Young to Run campaign in Nigeria. That Not Too Young to Run campaign was advocated for by our organization and others as well to give opportunity for young guys to contest for political posts. If democracy is all about participation, if democracy is all about inclusion, if democracy is all about government of the people and for the people, then the women should not be edged out technically as a result of our constitution or as a result of funding or as a result of religious or cultural stereotype. So, of course, we can't get women politicians advocating for climate change if we are not getting a seat for them at the table as women as far as political posts and governance is concerned. So we are currently working on that as well. And, of course, I'm happy to share another link of that as well for you to do your background check.
Very, very good, very good. I look forward to that, but it did seem to be an obvious omission, and I'm not sure how Nigeria got itself in that position, but there's so few women politicians. I have to say, it's I was surprised. I was surprised how a few, but I look forward to seeing that change. But it's if the real change in terms of Nigeria or indeed Africa's response to climate change is to be meaningful, it will take both men and women to achieve that outcome. Both men and women need to be active participants. But I'm encouraged by this. I'm encouraged. Tell me. You mentioned earlier on that the government is supportive, at least to a point, in terms of changing policies, but not able to make financial contributions. So how do you sustain yourself as an organization? How do you keep going without real finance? Tell us how. How do you support?
I need to be realistic with you. It's crazily challenging. But because of great and credible people like Aziz Tobi Abubakar, we have kept going. I don't know, maybe you have research about it. It's difficult for young people to start a non-profit in Nigeria because, one, people will think, oh, you don't even have a job yourself. How are you sustaining yourself? So you have even not given yourself enough life. And the little one your parents are giving you or the little one you are getting again, you are still communicating it to rendering humanitarian services. But it comes from the subject of passion. What exactly are you passionate about as a young person? We can continue to talk about the fact that governments are not doing a lot. Let's think of what we can do for the government and not only what the government can do for us. How can we complement the efforts of the government? It's totally understandable that this government, they won't do more than this. So enough of the talk shows. That's why we activated the hashtag Stop Talking, Start Acting. Absolutely. And that's what we have been committed to as young guys. Let me tell you the facts. Out of the salary I receive from the organization that I work with as a private entity, I commit every month 50% of what I get into it. It's crazily inconveniencing me, but I don't have choice. So likewise, Toby Abubakar as well is a consultant for different company and corporate organization. He's committing about 43 or 43.5% of what he makes from his monthly to sustain the organization as well. And that's why we are calling on global actors like yours who are passionate about us. I'm very, like I told you, our board of directors were impressed when they heard about this program. That we are happy to see that people from other countries are really appreciating what we are doing and giving us opportunity to talk about it. It's something that, $1 million cannot buy. You have given us this global spotlight that will further reinforce our passion and even encourage us to do more because we know that somebody somewhere is watching and is encouraging us and giving us an opportunity. Sincerely, it's not been it's not been easy at all. But of course, as time goes on, we are coping. That's why we need much more support now that we can get to amplify our voice and reach out to people. Nigeria is about over 200 million population. So we have not been able to reach out to maybe 1%. So we need to do more. So we have the localizing climate activists across different local governments in Nigeria, 774 local governments. But how do we hold these volunteers who are climate activists? How do we mobilize them? How do we train them to be a climate justice ambassador and go to different grassroots communities so that much more impact will be felt? That's the reason why we need funding.
Right. Brilliant. Thank you. Although I have to say, your descriptions of your organisation not dissimilar to many here in Britain as well, I might add. But as you say, it is the passion, the belief, total commitment, which is why you understand, Mr. Abedin, that I put Aziz saying in my background. There you are. Keep showing up. If no one invests in you, invest in yourself. Yeah. That was struck. That was the first words I read about Aziz Abubakar. I consider.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, powerful. Now then, Aziz, you say something. I want to hear what you got to say in response to that question. Where is it?
Okay, in response to whether the government is supporting providing financial.
Oh, I know how you sustain yourselves, and Mr. Abedin, it described how you contribute an enormous amount of your salary to the campaign and supporting. But tell us why you do that. Do you tell us in your own words why you would do such a thing? Why give up that much of your salary for this cause? Explain.
Well, the simplest way to just put it is really just the passion, wanting to see change happen.
Yes.
This is what really drives me. And every day, when I see people not, when I see people living in poverty, when I see people not having enough to eat, when I see people not, being victims of, one extreme weather event or the other, I the motivation just keeps pumping in. It keeps pumping through my blood every day that you need to do something about this. You need to act. You need to you're currently in this state. You do have a way to sustain yourself a bit. You should be able to just put in that little that you have into supporting initiatives that helps to support people like this. And to be honest, I mean, it's really challenging. Let's be honest. Mr. Abedin has said it's really challenging to just give that, like just give all of that out and just putting in your heart out there and just putting in your resources, your mind, your soul, and everything just out there to support people, to support marginalized people, indigenous people that are living in local communities that do not have access to opportunities that we do have. And it can be very challenging, and that's why with the support of international organizations, NGOs, international donors, we can be able to push forward and even scale what we're doing. We're doing something, we're trying to act local, but we're also thinking global. And we need to, definitely collaborate. We're an organization that is so keen on meaningful collaborations, working with international NGOs, local NGOs, grassroots communities. How can we all team up together to just create a solution that ultimately solves the problem that we have and then secure a sustainable future for our world?
Wonderful. My heart is there for you. My heart is there for you. Whatever we can do, we absolutely will. Okay? Absolutely will. I'm so proud to be an African. I am so proud to be an African. Lady Chelsea, you've got a question. Yeah.
Well, I think it's more important to give out the number, as we forget every week. So the number to call in if you have a question is 0208 133 5616, and that's to call in from now to the end of the show to ask our guests any questions or contribute in any way. Yes, the question I have is, how can people overseas make financial contributions to you guys' organizations?
Thank you very much. We have created a GoFundMe for this campaign. And of course, people can assist, make donations, share with some of their friends as well, and support us. I've just pasted the link on the chat box.
Yes, I've seen that. Yes. You might want to just give the name of the GoFund, just so we're clear. You will just want to... they can...
Kwara State Climate Resilient Development Projects.
So I will just repeat that. So the Kwara
State Climate Resilient Development Projects.
Excellent. Okay. I want to just put, and what I will do, I'll link to it in a moment. And I'll put it up on the screen. Those who want to make contact with you either by telephone, email, Twitter, or other means, how can they contact yourselves? Give us first of all your website address. Will you tell us your website address first of all? You wish to give your website address, Aziz? Oh, I've lost him.
Okay, so yeah, I can hear you. The website address is thebrainbuilders.org. That is TheBrainBuilders.org. So thebrainbuilders.org. That is our website where you can definitely access online and see all the different projects we've done, and also see other links to donate to us and our contact information, our social media, and how to basically just reach out to us via WhatsApp or any other social media means.
Okay. Again, just to be clear, then, so are you on Facebook, for example, the organization?
Yes, we are on Facebook as well. Brain Builders Youth Development Initiative. I can copy the link and send on the chat box as well. I've sent the email address. I've sent Toby Abubakar phone number. I've sent the website as well on the chat box. Excellent.
I'm going to put up on the screen in a moment, you see. In fact, what I'm going to do, if I may, I'll just put up the GoFundMe site on the screen. So those who are viewing the show via YouTube, Facebook, or Mixcloud can see the details themselves. That's really important. And at this part of the show, it's nearly 9:30 here. Again, as Lady Chelsea said, we've opened the phone lines. It'd be interesting to hear comments from listeners now. I know you've heard a great deal, and these gentlemen are men of the highest order. These are true African, total commitment, never give up. you know, and are prepared. Never will they be distracted, you know. These are the people that will build the future of Africa, you know. These are the people. So we have given, our support to you is unreserved support for you, okay? So I want to encourage people. We have a caller. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. Good morning. Can you hear us all right? Good morning. Can you not hear us well? Dear me.
You're only one that's clear.
The others are not so clear. Oh dear.
Everyone else, they're all sort of cloudy with a bit too much space.
Okay, noted.
I'm very unclear.
Okay, that's much appreciated. I'm making adjustments now. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Would you have a question for our guest anyway? Because
Click up on the ear, then clearly anyway. We only call every other word.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, it's very bad. I didn't get the chance to call you earlier.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. All right, hopefully we solve this issue of communication. Okay. What I'm going to do, if I may, I'm going to share the screen for those who are watching so that you can see the GoFundMe site. And that GoFundMe site for, I believe I can see here that you've got a target. Am I right, Mr. Aberdeen? A target amount that you want to raise? Can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
You have a target amount of 30,000.
Mm-hmm. And that's $30,000 or now?
30,000 pounds. 30,000 pounds.
I had to say that. Okay. And what would you do with the money?
Yes, what we are planning to do is, one, activate what we call the climate radio on a weekly basis. Radio has proven to be the only means to which you can reach out to a whole lot of people. Two, we'll be going from schools to school to campaign on climate education. We have a target to reach out to 500 schools across north, east, and south of Nigeria, which comprises of 36 states of the Federation. We also want to activate what we call the climate meter that I talked about the other time. The climate meter is the only way through which we'll be able to track government promises and be able to tell a whole lot of people about, what the government is planning around climate change. We're also planning to give, relief materials and boxes for disposal of refuse, plastic sewage for recycling to different schools and different places that has been grossly affected by issues around climate change. So I leave it to Aziz Abubakar to talk more on it as well as the director of the project.
Go ahead.
All right, so like Aberdeen has already said, in addition to that, we're going to be doing a lot of climate education and capacity building at the local level. We're going to be reaching out to grassroots communities to train them on how to reduce, to improve their, climate solutions, and also support, locally led adaptation initiatives, and also develop interventions to provide to build their resilience and to allow them to better able to live in spite of the realities of climate change, and also thrive in that context. So we're going to be doing a lot of capacity building, like I said. We're going to be providing relief materials, and also even sort of like a micro grant to support initiatives that are locally led, helping to address climate issues. So basically, that's what we're going to be looking forward to using this funding to do. We're looking forward to scaling our impact by supporting locally led solutions, and also even reaching out through mass communications platforms like radio stations, for instance, which will enable us to get down to the grassroots. Because like Mr. Aberdeen has said, radio technology has proven to be a very effective way to reach local communities, and also even leverage on their local languages to really explain even all this, what are all these policies all around, what is it about, and all of this. So yeah.
Good. Thank you for that. Thank you. And I just want to further question. It is called, of course, the Kawawa State Climate Resilient Development Project, and that's the GoFundMe. But you're only starting off in this state. but you are seeking for similar projects right across Nigeria. That would be a fair comment, wouldn't it?
Yes, very well, very well, very well. So we're looking forward to piloting it, starting in Kwara State, then scaling it across all other states across Nigeria, replicating this solution, enabling that we're able to build the capacity of Nigerians all across anywhere, like within Nigeria. So anywhere, everywhere within Nigeria. So yeah.
Excellent. And I've learned now to just put this clarification to you. So in other words, this project includes people who are Yoruba, Igbo, that includes people who are Hausa, or I'm sure if they were so minded, Fulani as well as other peoples of Nigeria. Would that be right?
Thank you very much. You are absolutely correct. It's an all-encompassing project. Like I said the other time, the North Central, the Northeast, the Southwest, the Southeast, and every other component, which comprises of Hausa, Igbo, and Fulani, Muslim, Christian, young people, women, people with disability, religious leaders, traditional rulers, all critical stakeholders will be on board for the sustainability of this project, because beyond the funding period, we still want to see the project continuing even without funding. So it's all encompassing. All critical stakeholders will be on board to implement these projects.
Thank you very much. I need to make that clear. This is the 9th series of programs on Nigeria and understanding the internal dynamics of the country. I know that's a question I need to put forward. Regardless of your tribal or community affiliation, okay, this project seeks to ensure that the whole country can benefit from a climate resilient development projects. Okay. It's a really important point to get across. But I know that there are people from different parts of Nigeria who will be listening to this and say, well, no, it's only concerned with that state. In fact, this state is simply a project. This is a particular project you're giving light to now, but you'll conduct similar projects in other states across Nigeria. Okay, a really important point to make. But thank you for that. That's really important. And if I may, I'll just take this sharing off for a moment. So that's an important outline. What I'm really keen to understand now are, and understanding Nigeria's internal dynamics, are traditional leaders. Okay, we've spoken about the politicians, and I think we won't go further on politicians. But I'm interested how traditional leaders have engaged in the climate change, sustainable economy issue. Have you found that traditional leaders have been receptive to your messages?
Yeah, thank you very much for that brilliant question. And what we are trying to do, like I said, is also to, getting them involved. It's not easy to just go to a community, badge into that community and start, creating an advocacy campaign. You will not be successful with that. You've got to, reach out to those who are the real rulers or who are the head of that community. So what we do is to firstly pay advocacy visit to traditional rulers in the community that we have enterprised to work with, get their local buy-in and support as well, then give us like a smooth entry for us to be able to carry out our advocacy campaign, education awareness, or implement any project we want to implement there. So overall, we have been getting, considerable number of support from traditional rulers, and it's really been impressive, and it has been giving us an opportunity to easily pass our messages across. So in Nigeria, I'm happy to know you know about Nigeria, you know about Africa very well. It's not just easy for you to badge in and start telling people that you want to do this or that without really getting their support.
Mm-hmm. And thank you. And thank you for that response. Again, pursuing the traditional leaders questioning. So my contact with them is that initially there is a desire to protect their communities from other communities, first of all. And then secondly, to ensure that if they make these changes, they are not placed at an economic disadvantage as a result. For example, you're suggesting we shouldn't use firewood. What is a viable alternative? Okay, and I wonder if you, as part of your work, have been able not only to convince the traditional leaders, but going in parallel with them, the religious leaders as well, the imams, the archbishops, the priests, the pastors. Are they on board with the issue of climate change and understanding the implications for Nigeria if we don't all work together towards creating a sustainable society. Are the religious leaders on board as well with you?
Yeah, at the moment, what we are planning to do, we have conducted an advocacy call. It was on Zoom, but we also discovered that Zoom will not really work for now because most religious leaders are not really that much educated. So there was a campaign we started on Zoom before COP26 last year, just to, carry them along and tell them about how to convince their congregation around issues of climate change. And of course, part of what we'll be using this funding to do is to, get representatives from across the 36 states of Federation in Nigeria to attend maybe a 2 days climate religious workshop. When they are trained on how they can pass this message to their congregation, they can use it on Fridays for Muslims, on Sundays for Christians, on Thursdays for the priests and the traditionalists as well, and know the key advocacy message. What we'll be training them is communication and advocacy message around issues on climate change. It's going to be a 2-day workshop, and we hope, of course, if we're able to raise the target amount of money we are working on, it will be something realistic. We did Zoom last year, but believe you me, let me be realistic, it wasn't really that much impactful as we struggle for more than 45 minutes, people saying, can you hear me? And, I'm sure internet penetration in Nigeria is a little bit poor. So not all the critical stakeholders can really, afford an Android phone, talk less, joining Zoom meetings. So what we have concluded on is to have a physical meeting that will convene every one of them, pay for their transport, feeding, hotel reservation, and per diem, so that they will pass on this message, because they have access to thousands and millions of Nigerians, and Nigerians are very religious people. So they get convinced when they see their pastors or imams or priests telling them much about the issues.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And similarly here in the UK, we found that the religious leaders, the imams, the pastors, the priests, are proving to be extremely powerful influencers in terms of our attitude to climate change in the community. So yes, that is absolutely a strategy to pursue. Can I, if I may, just take us on to your website, brainbuilders.org. What a title, huh? Why Brain Builders? Who will respond? Aziz, can you hear? I think I may have left him.
No, yes. So I'll prefer Abidin response to this.
All right, thank you very much, Aziz. So when we started in 2014 as a student campus in the University of Ilorin, the challenge is there has been a whole lot of misconception about the larger percentage of youth around issues of governance, around issues of empowerment, around issues of advocacy and campaign. So our plan was to, revitalize, redirect the brain of young people into that of service, into that of contribution, into that of volunteering. That's why we name it the Brain Builders Youth Development Initiative. The brain of the youth have been built, but we want to rebuild it and channel it towards the right path, towards the right part of service, towards the right part of integrity, towards the right part of ethics, and of course, towards the right part of dividend of democracy and good governance. That was the reason why we named it the Brain Builders Youth Development Initiative. The brain has been built, but there's a need for the orientation of mindset. A whole lot of Nigerian youth over time, before we started our organization, do not trust the government, and as a result, do not want to hear anything relating to the government. So we made them realize that we have a choice. The choice is we continue to talk,
Okay. You want to say that again?
So we choose.
We may have lost a little. We may have lost a bit of what you said last 5-10 seconds, Mr. Abedin. If you could just repeat.
Oh, so sorry about that. I guess it's the network I talked about the other time. Sorry about that. So I said we started the Brain Builders Development Initiative to create reorientation of mindset for the youthful population who have the competence, who have the capacity, who have the energy, and who have the experience to really work collaboratively to solve issues around sustainable development in Nigeria and beyond.
And how successful have you been in engaging young people to this cause?
Wow, that's a wonderful question, and I'm super happy with that. Through our campaign in Nigeria, we have been able to make sure that the Not Too Young to Run bill has been assented to by Mr. President, and we have more young people contesting for political posts in Nigeria. One. Secondly, we carry out different research during COVID-19. Part of the project we started during COVID-19 is KnoCovid19.ng. It was to demystify fake news associated with COVID-19 and as well track government spending and expenses. KnoCovid19.ng. I can put the website on the chat box. So through this, we mobilize army of volunteers to really support the effort of the government in addressing issues around COVID-19. On peace building as well, because Nigeria is mad with a lot of insecurity. We partnered with UNDP in 2020 to activate what we call the conflictreport.org, wherein if any issues around peace is happening in your community, young people can lodge on that website, make reports, then we flag it to the necessary government agency, the security forces to take action. We are also working on the Sustainable Development Goals, localizing the SDGs, and also trying to do monitoring and evaluation framework for the achievement of the global goals on or before the 2030. We work with Google as a trainer as well to equip more than 300,000 Nigerian youth on digital skills, because the Nigerian education system does not really prepare the youth for the work environment. And that's the reason why our unemployment stood at 33.3%. Our organization has reached out to more than 300,000 Nigeria, training them on digital skill that could make them marketable at the workplace and give them an opportunity to have an edge over others when it comes to job as well. So at the core of our project is working on data, working on with technology and word of art to really pass our message. So of course, it's been super impactful. You can click on resources to view most of our reports from 2014 till date. If you hover your mouse on resources, you'll be able to see reports and publications. You'll be able to see newsletters. You'll be able to see statements that we have released, and you will be impressed about the kind of work we're doing.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And I want to say to listeners that, again, prior to my inviting my guest today, I did my research and I was extremely impressed. And you've heard both guests indicate that their salaries, they commit a significant proportion of their salaries to this cause. Okay, I had the opportunity to review this website and a few other links that were sent to me. I did my research. I spoke to people on the ground in Nigeria, and I have to say, both my guests receive the highest accolade, the highest possible accolade of people of the highest integrity. This is an organization, these are guests that I can commend to you. Give them the support that they need to deliver a sustainable Nigeria. Give them support they need to deliver a sustainable Africa. It's people such as this who are the kernel, the source, the fire behind the changes that are required. Okay, and I want to commend this organization. I want to commend my guests to you all. I want to encourage you all to find it in yourselves to give support to them. Either you give them the technical support or the financial support. And I wanted to show you on screen, and those of you who are viewing this via YouTube, Facebook, or Mixcloud, you can see for yourself their website without validated, and the content are absolutely spot on. They received the highest accolade. That's why I needed to say that in person. I want to say this. I want to commend you both. You both have been outstanding guests, and it is quite evident to me that we should continue to give you support, and we should always give you a quick plug in each of our programs. And as of this week, I've started to ask my guest, we want you to give us a 30-second clip which encourages people to get involved. Okay, I'll leave that to young Aziz. Okay, give us a 30-second clip and we'll play it in our future shows. A clip that ensures that the listeners are able to contact you, know your website, know who you are, telephone number, email address. We want a 30-minute clip and we will repeat it in our future shows for the next 12 months. Okay, so we want to make sure that you are never forgotten. Your work on the motherland is appreciated by us all. That's what I want to say. Your work on the motherland is appreciated by us all. Now, I think I've now asked my questions. You've now put yourselves on the map, if I may say so. You put yourself on the map. This has been really very informative. We do not hear about your initiatives enough here in Britain, in Europe. Okay, we tend to hear about a young lady by name who comes from, is she from Sweden somewhere, Lady Chelsea? Where it is. Yeah. I have no idea where it comes from, you know. But we don't hear enough about our motherland, Africa, the initiative on Africa devoted to combating climate change, developing sustainable communities, sustainable economies. And you are an example of that absolute dedication to the cause. I want to commend you for your work. I commend you on behalf of the community. I commend you. Well done. Well done. Lady Chelsea.
Thank you.
I think what they meant to say is thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying that.
On the chat.
Yeah, that's all right.
On the chat. I think I heard he said, he put something in the chat. Right, okay. I'll capture this chat later and I will come back to you. Thank you. I've got that. Z, did you want to say anything in closing? We're in the last few minutes now.
Yes, what did you say?
Give us your closing message.
Closing remarks. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. What I would just like to put out there is that for the listeners, especially for young people who are just who maybe probably are trying to figure out their lives and everything like that, I really do think that they should be able to follow their passions and do some really good work in the world, and really just when no one invests in you, you invest in yourself. You get the most out of the little resources that you have, and create some really amazing initiatives that can transform the world. So think, act local and think global. Yeah, thank you so much. I would like to pass it on to Mr. Abidin to just wrap it up.
Yes, if the connection is well, yes.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me clearly?
Oh, we can now, yes.
Yeah. All right, thank you. So absolutely, I was trying to say the other time that I got the Ghanaian Integrity Award last year.
Oh,
so
yes.
This is a highly competitive award that is given to the most integrative young person in the whole of a country of over 200 million population. Yeah, well, and I clinched the award because there was a job I did and I got paid for that job, and they paid me again for the second time. So I refunded that money. And of course, that clinched me the Ghanaian Integrity Award last year. Closing salutation. The award would be a place and a more sustainable place if as individual we're putting greater initiative that could make the world a better place to be. So decide today to really support sustainable initiative. £20, £100, £50 is not.
Oh, good shame.
Okay, I think we lost him there, but what he's trying to say is that we all have a role to play, and no action is too small. So any amount you have, do give to support this campaign and do give to support this initiative. Like you said, you can give £20, you can give £30, you can even give as high as 10k pounds if you would like to see this initiative realized, and we'll be very sure to leverage on every support that we get from you financially and technically to ensure that this is impactful and this is implemented, and you will all see the documentary and everything like that, of everything happening. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And those who want to make contact with you directly can use the email address brainbuildersedu@gmail.com. I'll say it again. Email address is brainbuilderedu@gmail.com. Okay. And of course, the website, of course, as I put up on the screen, is www.the Brain Builders with an S at the end, .org. I repeat, the website address is www.thebrainbuilders.org. Okay, and a telephone number I believe I can quote. It's Nigeria, and it's 234 81 300 39772. Repeat telephone number, Nigeria. I believe this is Lagos, is it, Aziz?
Yes, it is.
I repeat, Lagos, it's 234 81 300 39772. Okay, and I will make my donation immediately after this show. Okay, I'll make my donation to you immediately after this show. We wish you well, both of you, and I commend you to the community. I hope and wish that the community get behind this initiative. This is we doing for ourselves. As you might say in Jamaica, I do for myself. Okay, it's not what we need to do. Okay, if we're not doing it for ourselves, why should anyone do it for us? And as you would say, Aziz, keep showing up. If no one invests in you, invest in yourself. Thank you both. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you for being outstanding guests. Thank you, and we'll in a year's time or so we'll get you back again so we can see the progression, because this show is all about outcomes and progressing. But we've got a clear outcome for this show that we want to encourage listeners to make contact or make a contribution via the GoFundMe site. Okay. Thank you very much, Aziz. And thank you, Mr. Abedin. I'm sorry that the sound wasn't quite good, but I believe the key messages have been communicated. Thank you for being excellent guests. Lady Chelsea?
Yeah, again, just thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing, and thank you what you do. I'm sure a lot of people would want to support this cause. It's important, and your sacrifices towards it are, I'm sure, are appreciated. So yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye to you both. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and thank you, Lady Chelsea. Yeah, thank you for having us on this platform. Thank you so much.
Take care. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Lady Chelsea, was that tremendous? Absolutely tremendous.
Yeah.
And people such as this have not been given publicity here in the West. You see, and that's the challenge. So some people could go off with the idea that they're not much by way of activity going on in Africa because they're not seeing it, they're not hearing it. Yeah, and that's why this station exists. To de-brainwash, because that's a bit brainwashing, the idea that Africa isn't taking care of itself. Africa absolutely is taking care of itself. With people such as that, who are making such sacrifices. Oh yeah. Okay, well, let's persuade them to do their little promotional clip, and we keep replaying it in future shows. Yeah. I feel much better now. I feel much better, Lady Chelsea.
Yeah.
Give them their publicity. Give them their publicity. They amply deserve it. Amply deserve it.
Yeah.
And as I said, I did my research. They both came with such accolades. These are true people. These are true human beings. It's not a question of being Africans. These are just good human beings. Good human beings. You know?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's. I think we've almost come to a close now. We will close now. I look forward to see you next week for another mind-expanding show that shows the tremendous work that's going on in our communities. Yeah. Oh, I feel much better. And you're looking very good, I must say, Lady Chelsea. There you are. You're looking, very strong. And long may that continue. Long may that continue.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Good day to everybody. Thank you for your listening ears. Okay. And I hope you've all been motivated to contribute to our collective improvement. Bye for now. Bye for now.
Bye.
Take care. Bye, everyone.